For the first time in history, stranded energy is more valuable, can be more valuable than energy found right in the backyard of a big metropolis. It blows my mind. An oil well. Picture it being 1 part petroleum, 1 part gas, 1 part salt water. So the gas comes out, and if there's no market for it, they flare it.
You're burning it?
Burning it on fire, yeah. Lighting up one of the most precious, amazing, energy-dense molecules that man has ever discovered on this planet, and you're just lighting it on fire until Bitcoin comes along. You can now take that gas, run it through a generator set, make the electricity, and then plug in your miners. And so you now have that digital pipeline. And so when you burn it, you take some methane out. But when you combust it through a generator set, you're getting rid of 99% of that. And that's the real beauty there. The oil field is some of the baddest brains you have ever seen in your life, right? If you look at how technical it is to drill, deep water, hundreds of miles offshore, and then, miles down just to the seabed, then you start drilling into the seabed. You've heard it compared to holding a piece of spaghetti at the top of the Empire State Building and trying to hit a penny. That's like how difficult it is to find your zone. And that's in perfect seas, right? You might have some rough seas and some real, problems out there. And so those brains are gonna walk into a state-of-the-art Bitcoin mine and be like, oh, give me 10 minutes. I will have this thing pumping 20% by sundown, 40% more by the week's end, and I can get you up to 60% in the next, 6 months. And that, I think, is about to get unlocked. And that's American innovation and capitalism that the Chinese never had. And with all the network hash rate coming to Texas, you're about to see those kind of brains being unleashed on this, and it is child's play for them. Like one S19 that's doing 110 terahash was the entire Bitcoin network in like 2013. That's what blows my mind. And where we're going from here, you're gonna need more energy. If you claim to be an environmentalist, if you literally care about the environment, you would say we should be doing natural gas to nuclear to whatever we can figure out after that. We're not gonna get to fusion, nuclear fusion, off having to wait on when the wind is blowing and then we can research and study. We need to be working on this problem every single day. What is the next energy source? And if they're talking about, shutting down nuclear plants, they don't give a shit about the environment, right? And if they're saying that natural gas, I think natural gas is like the most beautiful. Every country in the world would dream of having all this natural gas and claiming how clean burning it is, right? And we're the only ones getting villainized for it because we don't have any real problems in this country, right? Not real problems, we're not trying to survive. So basically, yes, natural gas to nuclear, and then whatever's next. But you need more energy to figure out what is that next thing. Man will always out-engineer his environment, no matter what. We've got a great track record of that. We're not gonna lose. If you look at climate deaths in the last 100 years, they're down 99%. I don't care if it's the first world or the third world. If you start giving people a lot of cheap energy, humans flourish. At the end of the day, if you're against cheap energy, you're against human flourishing.
So this is a quick debrief on some of the things that Griffin was talking about. The first is that stranded energy for the first time ever can be more valuable than energy that's close to a city. Now, what you have to understand is that there's not a good way of storing energy. It has to be used right away. So if you don't have a pipeline from your source of energy to a city, a lot of times there is no way to make money on that energy, and therefore there is no incentive to tap into energy that's far away from a city. But Bitcoin changes that because you can plug in a mining computer. All it needs is electricity, and you can turn that energy into money. The second thing he talks about is gas flaring. So when you drill for oil, there's 3 things under the ground: water, oil, and gas. If you don't have a pipeline for that gas to actually go somewhere for it to be used for energy, then what they do is they simply burn that gas, and that releases a lot of methane into the atmosphere. With these Bitcoin miners, instead, they're running the gas through a generator, which is converting it into electricity, powers those miners, and those miners turn it into Bitcoin. This captures 99% of the emissions of methane that would normally go out into the atmosphere and actually uses this wasted energy. Another thing to talk about is the stability of the grid. Everyone knows about Texas last year and a lot of people going without power. And you may think that Bitcoin miners were taking some of the power that those people needed, but actually the opposite is true. You see, these power plants that produce power, they only produce as much power that is needed at any given time. So when these Bitcoin miners are attached to the grid, these power plants are feeding them lots and lots of power, which is a good thing because in the case of an emergency, these miners can turn their operations down, and these power plants are already producing a high amount of energy, so they can go ahead and repurpose that energy and funnel it to the people that need it the most. So it may sound counterintuitive, but the fact that a Bitcoin miner is being fed lots of electricity by a power plant is actually better for everyone in the case of an emergency. Griffin talks about an S19 and 110 terahashes per second. An S19 is the specific model of a Bitcoin miner, and 1 terahash is 1 trillion calculations per second. So in 2013, all of the computers on the Bitcoin network equaled about 100 trillion calculations per second. Today, that number has skyrocketed to almost 200 quintillion calculations per second. And when it comes to Bitcoin, the more calculations per second, the more secure the network is. Griffin's point is, now that more people in the oil industry are being exposed to Bitcoin, they're going to bring their innovation and their get it done attitude to the network, and it's only going to increase the number of calculations and therefore increase the security of the Bitcoin network, which is already incredibly secure.